This episode examines Ghislaine Maxwell, a longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein, and, following a 2021 federal jury verdict, a convicted co-conspirator in his sex trafficking operation. Source: Jury Verdict and Judgment, U.S. v. Maxwell, 20, Crime 330, SDNY. DOJ SDNY Press Release, December 29, 2021. We rely only on public, verifiable sources, court filings, government records, and major investigative journalism. Where allegations have not been proven in court, we will clearly describe them as alleged, as reported, or prosecutors said. Source: U.S. v. Maxwell Docket, Miami Herald's Perversion of Justice Series, 2018. Content warning: this program discusses sexual abuse of minors, grooming, and trafficking. If you need support, resources are available, including the RAIN National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE and RAIN.org. Source: RAIN.org. This is Episode 2 of Epstein Files Official Records. Episode 1 focused on Jeffrey Epstein himself. Here, we turn to Ghislaine Maxwell, her background, her connection to Epstein, the federal charges brought against her, what was presented at trial, and the outcome as reflected in official documents. Our focus is on what can be confirmed from indictments, sworn testimony, verdicts, and major investigative journalism, while noting where matters remain alleged or disputed. Ghislaine Maxwell was born on December 25, 1961, near Paris, France, and raised primarily in the United Kingdom as the youngest child of media proprietor Robert Maxwell and his wife Elizabeth. Source: BBC News Profile, Ghislaine Maxwell, The Making of a Socialite, 29 December 2021, New York Times Profile, 2 July 2020. Robert Maxwell built a media empire that included the Mirror Group newspapers in the UK and the US publisher Macmillan. Source: UK DTI Report on Maxwell Companies, 2001, BBC News, 29 December 2021. In 1991, he died after falling from his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, near the Canary Islands. Subsequent investigations revealed significant pension fund fraud and financial irregularities in his companies. Source: UK DTI Report on Maxwell Companies, 2001, BBC News, 29 December 2021. Major press accounts and biographies describe Ghislaine Maxwell as a well-connected socialite in London in the 1980s and later in New York City in the 1990s, often seen at high-profile social events. Source: New York Times, 2 July 2020, Vanity Fair Investigative Reporting, 2003 and 2019. After her father's death and the collapse of his business empire, these reports describe her increasingly relocating to the United States, especially New York City. Source: BBC News Profile, 29 December 2021. According to multiple investigative reports and later court testimony, Maxwell met financier Jeffrey Epstein in the early 1990s. By the mid-1990s, she was frequently seen with him and was described by some contemporaries as his girlfriend, close associate, and later as a kind of house manager. Source: Vanity Fair, 2003 and 2019, Miami Herald's Perversion of Justice, 2018. Household staff and other witnesses would later testify that Maxwell helped manage Epstein's properties, staff, and social calendar. Source: Trial Testimony Summaries, U.S. v. Maxwell, 20 Crime 330, reported by the New York Times, December 2021, Civil Depositions in U.S. v. Epstein, No. 09-CV80656 SDFL. In civil litigation and investigative reporting, several accusers have alleged that Maxwell played a central role in Epstein's network, especially in recruiting and grooming young women and girls. Source: Complaint, Giuffre v. Maxwell, 15-CV7453, SDNY, 2015, Miami Herald, 2018. Maxwell has consistently denied these allegations. In a 2016 sworn deposition in Virginia Giuffre's civil defamation case, Maxwell testified that she never saw any inappropriate underage activities by Epstein and characterized accusations that she recruited minors or participated in abuse as lies and absolute rubbish. Source: Maxwell Deposition Transcript, Giuffre vs. Maxwell, 15-CV7453, SDNY, unsealed, 2020. Maxwell's name began to appear in U.S. court documents related to Epstein in the mid-2000s, when civil suits were filed in Florida after Epstein was charged in 2006 with state offenses connected to a minor. Source: Civil Complaint, Jane Doe vs. Epstein, No. 50-2008, CA-40080, Palm Beach County, U.S. vs. Epstein, Related Civil Filings, 2007-2008. Some plaintiffs alleged that Maxwell helped facilitate or arrange encounters with Epstein when they were under 18. Source: Jane Doe Civil Complaints, summarized in Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, 2018. Maxwell was not charged in the 2006-2008 criminal proceedings and did not sign the 2007 federal non-prosecution agreement that protected Epstein and certain named and unnamed potential co-conspirators from federal prosecution in the Southern District of Florida. Source: 2007 Federal Non-Prosecution Agreement, U.S. vs. Epstein, SDFL, 2007. In 2015, Virginia Giuffre filed a defamation lawsuit in federal court in New York City, alleging that Maxwell had defamed her by publicly calling Giuffre's accounts of abuse obvious lies and fantasy. Source: Complaint, Giuffre vs. Maxwell, 15-CV7453, SDNY, 2015. Maxwell denied the underlying allegations of sexual abuse and trafficking. The case was settled confidentially in 2017, with the parties filing a stipulation of dismissal. The settlement terms were not made public, and there was no admission of liability. Source: Stipulation of dismissal, Giuffre vs. Maxwell, 15-CV7453, SDNY, 2017, Miami Herald, 2019. By that point, Maxwell had been named in multiple civil suits and investigative articles as a key figure around Epstein, but she had not been criminally charged. That changed after renewed scrutiny of Epstein's earlier non-prosecution agreement and his 2019 federal arrest. In November 2018, the Miami Herald published its Perversion of Justice series, re-examining Epstein's 2007 federal non-prosecution agreement and the decision not to charge him with more serious sex trafficking offenses. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, November 2018. The reporting highlighted accounts from multiple women who said they were sexually abused as minors and alleged that a network of associates, including Ghislaine Maxwell, helped recruit and groom them. Source: Miami Herald Series, 2018, attached court documents and affidavits. In July 2019, federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York charged Jeffrey Epstein with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, alleging that from at least 2002 to 2005, he operated a scheme to recruit and abuse girls at his homes in New York and Florida. Source: Indictment, U.S. vs. Jeffrey Epstein, 19 Crime 490, SDNY, July 2019, DOJ SDNY Press Release, July 8, 2019. That indictment referred to certain employees and associates, but did not name Maxwell. Source: 2019 Epstein Indictment, 19 Crime 490, SDNY. On July 10, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. The New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner ruled the death a suicide. Source: NYC Office of Chief Medical Examiner Statement, August 2019, DOJ OIG Report on MCC-MDC 2021. After Epstein's death, public and law enforcement attention focused more intensely on his associates. On July 12, 2020, federal agents arrested Ghislaine Maxwell in New Hampshire on a 6-count indictment filed in the Southern District of New York. Source: Indictment, U.S. vs. Maxwell, 20 Crime 330, SDNY, July 2020. DOJ SDNY Press Release, July 2, 2020. The indictment alleged that between approximately 1994 and 1997, Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Epstein's abuse of minor girls at properties in New York, Florida, and elsewhere. Source: 2020 Maxwell Indictment, 20 Crime 330 SDNY, DOJ SDNY Press Release, July 2, 2020. Prosecutors charged her with conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, conspiracy to transport minors to engage in illegal sex acts, transportation of a minor to engage in illegal sex acts, and 2 counts of perjury based on her 2016 deposition in the Giuffre civil case. Source: 2020 Maxwell Indictment, Counts 1 through 6, DOJ SDNY Press Release, July 2, 2020. According to the indictment, Maxwell allegedly befriended underage girls by taking them to movies or shopping, discussing their lives, and building trust before encouraging them to give Epstein massages that in many instances became sexual. Source: 2020 Maxwell Indictment, Introduction and Overt Acts. Prosecutors